News on SBYnews.com. This is again our special edition where we're interviewing the different candidates throughout the state and local levels. Today we have Mr. Norm Conway. Welcome aboard, Norm.
Thank you,
Good to see you again.
Nice to be with you.
Let's get right started right on this, I guess I should say. Why are you running again?
I'm running again, number one, because being in the Maryland House of Delegates has been a goal of mine for many years. It was a goal that in high school I thought was an impossible one to obtain. And lo and behold, if you set the goals, and I tell young people all the time, you got to set goals.
Right.
You're willing to work hard for them, willing to go for them, they are obtainable. You don't just run to them, but you keep at them. I've had a great opportunity in this community, born and raised here, going to public schools here, and I always wanted to be in government, probably from early experiences with a former mayor of Salisbury, Mr. Raleigh Hastings. He was a great person, another grandpa. But I always thought I wanted to do things that could give back to the community, things that would be opportunities for others, and I feel that this community has certainly afforded me those opportunities. I hope I've taken advantage of them. I hope they have benefited from the experience I've been able to gain and the positions that I've been fortunate to hold. And in elective office, representing the people of Salisbury, representing District 38, and now District 38B as a part of the Eastern Shore of Maryland.
Good. Why should the voters support you over your opponent?
I would think, number one, the experience that I've had. And, you know, I think people should be involved. And people will sometimes ask me, you know, what about opponents? I said, well, you know, I guess at one point I was an opponent.
That's right.
I looked at it from that point of view. I wanted to run, and I think anybody else that wants to serve and wants to put their name out there, I think they should do that. At one point, that's what I wanted to do, that's what I did, and I had the opportunity to be elected.
Good. Under the current administration, Maryland taxpayers received the largest tax increase in history. How do you believe the governor and legislature should attack Maryland's current fiscal situation?
Well, I think we have been attacking it
okay.
since 2007 with the special session that you referenced in the question. We did have a significant tax increase. The sales tax, 1 cent increase. Half of that, however, I think the tax itself would have equaled 1 penny, somewhere in the neighborhood of $750 to $800 million. One half of that was designated to go to the Maryland Transportation Authority. And at that time, we definitely needed to have some additional funding to meet the requests statewide for networks and transportation that are vital to our economic development. We did not get to the figure that the Maryland Chamber wanted. They wanted actually $600 million put in transportation. We did get $400 million using 1/2 of that penny. Sales tax is not, or any tax, I guess, is not anything that you really want to do. But when you have programs, when you have services that people request, you have to find ways to pay for them. And just as we do in our own budgets, where we've got to work very hard is maintaining control of the baseline spending.
Okay. If elected, would you support the repeal of both the sales tax increase and the so-called millionaire surtax? If so, how would you pay for it?
Well, I think you kind of answer your question
right,
when you say, how would you pay for it? I think one of the things that you have to do, and somewhere over the next term or two, I think Maryland is going to have to look seriously at all of its revenue sources. And I think there's going to have to be a commission to take a look at it, to see where we need to make changes, how we can best do that. There were a number of those proposed during the special session. No one was willing to take that kind of a step without first really seriously looking at it and developing a number of options to consider. So in a limited time, the sales tax at 1 cent is what they did, what we did as the legislature. And I think in that same session, it's while you talk about the greatest tax increase, it was also about a $550 million reduction taken in spending during that same session. In the following session, even more reductions came about. So we had a revenue increase. At one point, we took and have continued to take significant reductions since then.
Okay.
The millionaire's tax, it basically sunsets, I think, this year.
Yeah.
So it will take itself out.
Right, but I think it's important for everybody to know this.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
sure.
That's sure. I appreciate that. Under the current administration, we've seen a great effort by the state to force Wycomico County to strip farmers of their property rights by taking away many of their development rights. Do you support this? If not, will you commit, if elected, to support legislation to get the state government out of local planning decisions and, if need be, eliminate the Maryland Department of Planning?
I think, number one, I support strongly property rights. I mean, I think that is the American way.
Especially here in Eastern Shore.
Sure, and I think everybody knows that. But I think state planning, simply because of the significance of 24 subdivisions, I think state planning can play a significant role in advisory capacities, not to the point of where they dictate or where they direct. And that's something that I have said on a number of occasions. I don't want to see state planning become an empire,
right?
And where they control potentially appropriations that the Maryland legislature makes and decides on, and then seeing an agency step in, and because the county hasn't done everything that they wanted to do,
right.
They want to take a whack at them. Now, I would oppose that very strongly, but I do believe that there is a role. It should be advisory. It should be working with the communities and the counties to help them. Every one of our communities, every one of our counties are unique. So you can't have a blanket application of some policy or something that someone at some level of government feels ought to be. So I think that's something that we would need to work at and continue to work with. I think the current Secretary of State Planning would tell you square up that I have made my points about where that control factor ought to be.
Right.
Should be advisory, not control.
Very interesting. Thank you. In your opinion, what are the greatest challenges facing the lower shore, and how do you believe you can help solve those problems if elected?
I think certainly the greatest area that we need to concentrate on is in the area of jobs. Having good jobs, having the infrastructure in place that makes our area, our region overall, enticable to industries to look at us and to want to come here. I don't think any industry that would send a representative here to see if they would like to be here, if they're here for a day or two, the quality of life itself speaks for itself. Now we've got problems, and there are things that we have to work on. I think a good transportation system, very, very important. We're working on that at the present time. 113, the complete dualization of it. 404, the complete dualization of it. And as you get to it, you can see what happens when you look at Route 13 coming right through the heart of Salisbury, and the amount of traffic. If we did not have our bypass, we'd be gridlocked for a good part of the day. So I think all those things are items that we'll need to consider. I think also that we will need to continue our fiscal responsibility. I think we will have to get a greater control of baseline spending. We are doing that now. We have looked closely at mandates. We've looked at formula components, and we have taken steps. The fruition of what we had done will come to